Charlie Watts, often cut a somewhat enigmatic figure behind the Rolling Stones drum kit. He said very little and preferred to go his own way. But today's announcement of his death at the age of 80.
Charlie of the Rolling Stones died, and how does the Rolling Stones go on and all that kind of stuff. But I thought, Jesus, you lost your buddy.
Yeah. Well, it's very difficult to lose friends, you know. As you get older, you lose a lot of friends. And not only friends.
In September 2021, a quiet funeral took place in Devon, England, to bid farewell to the heart of the Rolling Stones, Charlie Watts. Public opinion was truly shaken when the three remaining members of the band were all mysteriously absent. Was this a fracture after 60 years of togetherness? Or was there another harsh truth that forced them to turn their backs on their closest brother? Join us as we uncover the untold shadows behind the empty seats at this fateful ceremony. The period from 2017 to early 2021 marked Charlie Watts' extraordinary efforts during the global No Filter Tour. Despite having reached the age of 80, he maintained an intense working pace with dozens of sold-out nights at the largest stadiums in the world. The legendary drummer's endurance astonished experts as he continued to deliver absolute precision in every beat. Not a single sign of fatigue was visible on the surface. Charlie remained the most solid foundation for Mick Jagger and Keith Richards to shine. At the beginning of August 2021, a shocking announcement was made when Charlie confirmed he would withdraw from the US tour schedule. His representative stated that doctors had just successfully carried out an urgent medical procedure and that he needed time to rest. Although the exact cause was not disclosed in detail, international media confirmed that it was a complex heart surgery and not related to any epidemic. Charlie's absence for the first time in nearly 60 years sparked deep concern within the fan community. In the face of illness, Charlie Watts demonstrated the highest level of professionalism and responsibility toward the band's legacy. He personally chose drummer Steve Jordan as a temporary replacement to ensure the tour would not be interrupted or canceled. This decision was made after he realized that the recovery process would take longer than the medical team had initially expected. Charlie directly conveyed the most demanding technical requirements to his successor to preserve the musical soul of the group intact. Before his health took a turn for the worse, he left behind a resolute message for his close bandmates. Charlie Watts affirmed, "The show must go on," emphasizing that the performance must continue no matter what happened to him personally. This statement was not only a professional directive, but also a pledge of honor from an artist to a global audience. The band held back their grief to continue rehearsals in St. Louis, in accordance with the final wish entrusted to them by their dear friend. August 24th, 2021 became a sorrowful milestone when the news of Charlie Watts' passing was officially confirmed. He passed away peacefully at a hospital in London, surrounded by the warmth and constant presence of his family. His passing occurred just weeks after the surgery, creating a wave of mourning across the media. Major outlets from BBC to Rolling Stone simultaneously reported the end of a golden era in the history of rock music. Immediately after the news was announced, the remaining members of the Rolling Stones expressed their deep emotions on social media. Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and Ronnie Wood simultaneously posted quiet black and white photos of Charlie in place of words. Charlie's death not only left a void within the band, but also completely altered the operational structure of the Stones' empire. All plans for the group's 60th anniversary had to be restructured to fit this new reality of loss. The world mourned him, but the silence in Devon, where the funeral was held, turned into a storm of criticism directed at the surviving bandmates. Questions about the absence of the key members began to appear densely across the press. Decoding the truth. Charlie Watts' funeral was held in September 2021 in Devon, England, under absolute privacy. At the strict request of Shirley, the late artist's wife, the ceremony was reserved exclusively for immediate family members. No A-list stars or famous colleagues were invited to attend in order to maintain maximum privacy. The absence of the Rolling Stones members at the scene immediately sparked conflicting waves of public opinion. The core reason behind this absence lay in the strict legal and medical barriers at that time. When the funeral took place, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and Ronnie Wood were in the United States preparing for the tour. During this period, travel regulations between the UK and the US due to the COVID-19 pandemic remained extremely strict. Making a transatlantic flight required continuous days of medical controls and quarantine procedures. The insurance system for the tour, worth hundreds of millions of US dollars, imposed rigorous safety conditions. The members had to comply with the concept of a tour bubble, a safety bubble designed to protect the health of thousands of personnel in the crew. If Mick or Keith had decided to return to the UK, they would have been required to undergo a 10 to 14-day quarantine upon re-entering the US. This would have meant the entire tour schedule being canceled immediately due to the inability to maintain the timeline. Canceling the tour would not only have caused enormous financial losses, but also risked bankruptcy for the production team. Thousands of staff, from sound engineers to logistics personnel, would have lost their jobs and faced severe economic burdens. At that time, special international travel routes for large artistic crews were tightly controlled. Artists were almost unable to leave their temporary residential zones without approval from local health authorities. Although they could not be physically present in Devon, the members organized a private memorial in Boston. At a discreet bar, Mick, Keith, and Ronnie raised glasses of Guinness together to bid farewell to their brother. This wake ceremony took place in a quiet atmosphere where they revisited memories spanning 6 decades together. It was the way they chose to honor Charlie when objective barriers kept them geographically separated from England. Images from this gathering were later revealed, showing the collapse and sorrow of those left behind. They understood that continuing to perform was the only way to fulfill the final wish of the departed. The band's spokesperson later spoke out to clarify misinformation about internal conflict. He affirmed that every decision had been discussed and received understanding from Charlie Watts' family. This sacrifice was described as an inevitable part of their responsibility to the music and to the fans who were waiting. The band chose to suppress personal grief to sustain the existence of the Rolling Stones. Their absence was not a betrayal, but a harsh sacrifice for music. Charlie's legacy does not end at his grave in Devon. It continues to resonate through the ambitious projects ahead. Immortal legacy. After the passing of Charlie Watts, his musical legacy did not come to a close, but continued to be revived through unfinished studio projects. In 2023, the Rolling Stones officially released the album Hackney Diamonds, marking a powerful comeback. Fans were deeply moved to realize that Charlie's signature drumming was still present in 2 key tracks, Mess It Up and Live by the Sword. These were the final recordings he made in the studio in 2019. Keith Richards shared with the media, "Charlie was the one who pushed us to finish this album before he passed away. These final notes are regarded as an invaluable gift that the gentleman of rock left to the world." Alongside artistic achievements, the Watts family also faced continued loss toward the end of 2022. Shirley Ann Shepherd, Charlie's devoted wife, passed away in December after a brief battle with illness. Her passing came just 16 months after her husband's death, bringing to a close a love story that lasted nearly 6 decades. The British press praised it as one of the most enduring and exemplary marriages in music history. Most recently, in early April 2026, news of the listing of Halsden House in Devon for sale drew attention from real estate investors. This estate had long served as the peaceful residence of the Watts family. The property is currently listed through the agency Savills at a price reaching millions of pounds. The transfer of the estate is seen as the final milestone, marking the end of Charlie Watts' physical presence in the Devon region. Experts believe that the sale of assets is part of a broader plan to restructure the inheritance. Charlie's collections of vintage cars and memorabilia have also gradually been placed in museums or private auctions. Charlie Watts' historical standing has once again been affirmed in prestigious music rankings in 2026. Rolling Stone magazine continues to place him among the highest ranks of the greatest drummers of all time. Critics emphasize that his refined technique and composure shaped the style of an entire generation. His influence continues to spread widely among young artists pursuing rock and jazz. Looking back at the entire situation, the absence of the Stones members at the funeral should be viewed more fairly and objectively. They chose to honor the wishes of the departed through real actions on stage rather than symbolic presence. Maintaining the band's rhythm was the most genuine tribute that Mick, Keith, and Ronnie could offer their friend. It was a continuation of the spirit Charlie always upheld, to keep the band's music from ever coming to a stop. To understand why a reserved drummer could become the irreplaceable soul of a musical empire for more than 6 decades, we must trace back to the very beginning. The immortal legacy he left to the world was not by chance. It was built from the very first bricks in a modest, prefabricated house in Wembley. The beat of a rock empire, Charlie Watts was born on June 2, 1941 in Wembley, London, into a purely working-class family. His father was a railway worker, and the family lived in a prefabricated house hastily built after World War II. From an early age, Charlie showed no passion for the rapidly rising rock genre. Instead, his heart belonged entirely to jazz. With deep admiration for legends such as Miles Davis and Charlie Parker, he began playing drums by taking apart an old banjo and converting it into a small drum for daily practice. His earliest foundational techniques were deeply infused with the essence of jazz, featuring complex and refined rhythms. The most important milestone in his career began on February 2, 1963, at the Ealing Jazz Club. That was when Charlie officially agreed to join the Rolling Stones after months of being pursued by the other members. An interesting detail is that Charlie had previously turned down the invitation several times because the band was too poor at the time and could not afford to pay him. He only agreed after recognizing the potential and seriousness of Mick Jagger and his bandmates in pursuing music. Charlie's arrival brought a fresh wave, completely transforming the band's sound structure from the very beginning. He became a solid anchor, keeping the group's rebellious melodies firmly on the right track on stage. While other members of the band were constantly entangled in shocking scandals and the indulgent lifestyle of artists, Charlie chose an entirely different path by marrying Shirley Ann Shepherd in 1964. This marriage later became a symbol of rare fidelity in the ever-changing world of rock and roll. Charlie always maintained a clear distance from offstage temptations to protect his family happiness and personal peace. On a professional level, Charlie Watts developed a unique drumming style that experts refer to as the pocket. It is a masterful sense of timing, creating subtle spaces that made the band's hits timeless. His most distinctive technique was not striking the hi-hat whenever hitting the snare, creating a more open sonic space. Arrangements in Satisfaction and Paint It Black both carry the unmistakable imprint of his gifted hands. Charlie's precision and sensitivity allowed him to control the band's sound intensity throughout long tours. He never overused flashy techniques, always focusing on maintaining the structure of each song. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, as the Rolling Stones rose to become the greatest band on the planet, Charlie remained composed. He often appeared in elegant suits rather than the extravagant stage outfits of the era. The contrast between Charlie's aristocratic appearance and the band's fiery music created a unique appeal for global audiences. He was the perfect balance, helping the band overcome periods of internal crisis and musical redirection. Charlie Watts never saw himself as a dazzling star. He was simply a jazz musician lost in the world of rock and roll. It was precisely that calmness that carried him through the band's greatest storms and into the next chapter filled with upheaval. Hidden fractures. Entering the 1980s, the exemplary stability of Charlie Watts was suddenly shaken by a severe midlife crisis. During the period from 1983 to 1986, he fell into a spiral of heavy drinking and powerful narcotics such as heroin. This turmoil stemmed from work pressures and the quiet internal rifts within the band at the time. Though always regarded as the most clear-headed member, Charlie's downfall pushed his family to the brink of collapse due to his negative psychological changes. Realizing the severity of the situation, he undertook a sudden withdrawal using the cold turkey method within just 1 day. This self-awareness and iron discipline helped him escape the darkness of addiction before it was too late. In 1984, a shocking incident occurred at a hotel in Amsterdam, marking the peak of tension between Charlie and Mick Jagger. In a drunken state, Mick called Charlie's room and repeatedly asked, "Where's my drummer?" Instead of reacting impulsively over the phone, Charlie calmly shaved and carefully dressed himself. He put on a perfectly tailored Savile Row suit, polished leather shoes, and walked straight to the band leader's room. Upon confrontation, Charlie threw a straight punch at Mick Jagger, knocking the singer into a plate of food on the table. It was a rare moment when this gentle drummer unleashed his anger to assert his position within the group. After the punch, he declared firmly, "Don't ever call me your drummer, you're my singer." This statement became a legendary anecdote in rock history, re-establishing the necessary respect among the band members. Their relationship was later repaired through professionalism and the shared goal of maintaining the Rolling Stones empire. Charlie continued to act as the binding force, keeping the egos of Mick and Keith from tearing the band apart. The greatest physical challenge came in 2004 when Charlie was diagnosed with throat cancer. He was admitted for treatment at the Royal Marsden Hospital in London immediately after abnormal health signs were detected. The treatment process included 6 weeks of continuous radiation therapy, which rapidly weakened the aging artist's body. The news shocked the remaining members, especially Keith Richards, who regarded Charlie as the very breath of the band. Keith once expressed deep fear that the Stones might have to stop forever if they lost the heartbeat from Charlie's drums. He admitted that no one in the world could replace the unique presence of his bandmate. Fortunately, the treatment yielded positive results as the cancer cells began to be effectively controlled. Charlie Watts spent time resting at his farm in Devon to recover his strength and prepare for a remarkable return. In 2005, he made a powerful comeback during the global tour A Bigger Bang with renewed health and spirit. Charlie proved the strength of a silent warrior by performing across hundreds of shows. This recovery was not only a personal victory, but also a driving force that helped the band maintain its leading position. Audiences around the world rose to their feet when they saw the elegant man once again seated behind his familiar drum kit. By the end of 2005, the Rolling Stones had completed the tour with record-breaking revenue, further solidifying their legend of endurance. Charlie Watts once again affirmed that no matter what happened, he would remain the band's anchor. The absence of Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and Ronnie Wood at Charlie Watts' funeral was not indifference, but a harsh sacrifice to protect the band's legacy. They chose to suppress personal grief to fulfill the final wish of their closest friend, to ensure that the rhythm of the Rolling Stones would never be allowed to stop. The story of Charlie Watts stands as proof of a life devoted, where elegance and loyalty were always placed above all else. Though no longer present in flesh, the sound from those gifted hands will forever remain the immortal heartbeat of rock history. If you feel moved by this great friendship, please like and subscribe so you don't miss in-depth investigative features about music legends. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below about the most memorable moment of Charlie Watts for you. Thank you for watching, goodbye, and see you again in the next Journeys of Discovery.